So let's begin to dance down this rice paper road of looking at the last things. And I want to present the first area of debate. And the first area of debate is, could Jesus really return at any time? You know, we've already looked at that sense of Jesus' return coming like a thief in the night, but could he really come at any time? There are many passages that tell us to be ready. There are many passages that tell us that he'll come at a time we don't expect. But there are other passages, and in particular when we look at Matthew 24, when Jesus is talking to his disciples, we see Jesus talking about signs of things that seem to have to happen before Jesus returns. And consequently, we find ourselves in this place as Christians with truths in tension, with the truth that Jesus could come back at any time, balanced with the sense of Jesus saying there are signs that must happen. The Bible teaches a sudden and unexpected return, and we've already explored some of that in Matthew 24, where, like many passages in verse 44, it says, "You must be ready because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you don't expect him." And we cannot escape that it will be sudden and it will be unexpected. And if the Bible hadn't spoken of signs that needed to happen, we would have no doubt that the return of Jesus was imminent. It could and might happen at any time, so we needed to be ready. We look at the New Testament writers, we see that sense of urgency. And in our question that we ask, could Jesus really come back at any time, we're not trying to blunt or dismiss that sense of the urgency of Jesus' return. But if the Bible speaks of signs, does that mean that Jesus might not come back at any time? As we begin to explore this question, as we begin to ask ourselves this question, we recognise that Jesus and the New Testament writers, they would write in that sense of Jesus' return being soon. But they were writing 2,000 years ago. And here we are 2,000 years later looking back. Were the early church, were the disciples, were the writers of the New Testament wrong to expect an imminent return? They clearly thought and taught soon. Was that a mistake? I think our response to that has to be that the texts do not say to us how long we need to wait. And a lot of these texts need to be read with that understanding of them being prophetic. And with the prophetic, there's a sense of foreshadowing. The nature of prophecy is that the prophet is seeing things with the eyes of the prophet. They're seeing what will be as if it is now. And they're seeing future events as if they're happening now. I think what we have to take from that is the message is that we need to be ready. And in 2 Peter 3 verse 9, we recognise that there's this heartbeat of God that none should perish and all should be saved. None should perish, all should be saved. That dual pummeling of the heart that's going boom, 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 and beating. And when we look at this question of Jesus' return, we need to understand and read it in the context of God's mercy, his grace, and his compassion. That's not to dodge the question, but I think we need to recognise that the New Testament writers wrote to motivate us to witness, to motivate us with a sense of urgency. People are living and dying, and the world is going to hell, and there needs to be an urgency about what we do. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, we read Paul writing to the church there that you know that we dealt with each of you as a father deals with his own children, encouraging, comforting, and urging you to live lives worthy of God, who calls you into his kingdom and glory. The New Testament writers wanted us to walk with that sense of urgency, that sense of Jesus' return, and to allow that to shape the way that we live lives worthy. But we also need to understand that Jesus taught clearly that there were some things that needed to happen before he could come back. And in Matthew 24 and verse 6, at the beginning of this discussion, as Jesus is talking to the disciples, he says, "You will hear of wars and rumours of wars. See to it that you're not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. We need to find a way to balance this sense of the truth's intention, to balance that sense of living prepared and ready with the sense that there are things that need to happen. And we're going to begin to look at some of those things that the Bible says need to happen against this sense of this question of being ready for Jesus to return at any time.